9 o'clock, we'll call the meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Could have some trouble coming up here for got an email from the woman there at kindergarten with
And the first order of business, of course, is to approve the agenda. And there are a couple of things we need to add to that agenda. One, we need to establish the Truth in Taxation hearing date. And the other one is that we need to put on the agenda the approval of the preliminary budget.
and levy.
Oh, I'm sorry, and levy. Okay, thank you. We probably need a motion to do that.
I would so move.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded to add those two things to the agenda, and I assume they'd come under action items.
The first is already on there as action item 3, so it's just the levy will become action item number 4.
You're not quite close enough to that microphone, so I can't hear you. I don't know about people out
Still
there.
not. Okay.
I guess it does work.
So the Truth and Taxation meeting is on there already as agenda item number 3. So it's just adding the levy discussion as agenda
Okay.
item 4.
Okay, I had understood. Yeah, there it is. I see it now. Okay. Somebody had said it wasn't there, so I put it on my list. Okay, just the one then. Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Those in favor, aye. Aye. Those opposed? Okay. Add that item to the agenda. Now it'll be number 4 on action items. Okay, and we need to approve the minutes of the last meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Any changes? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carried. Is there any opening public comment at this morning's meeting? Okay. Brian.
Good morning.
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 I have one item today, and that is recommending final out project CP 2018-06. This is our seal coating contract with Scott Construction. Original contract amount $326,670.68. Work certified $323,533.26. So about $3,000 under the original contracted amount. So work looked really good, and recommend filing this project out.
I'll make a motion to approve the final 2018-06.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Brian,
Yes.
did you want to mention the princesses of the La Crescent Apple Fest?
Yeah, so I can. Yeah, so my daughter ran for the Crescent Apple Fest. She was one of the candidates and stuff, so she finished as the second princess. So we get a lot of parades coming up over the next year and other activities. So
Yeah. Oh, that we'll have good roads to get to those parades.
yes,
Yeah, at least in the county. So
yeah. So yes,
All right.
we're excited for her. She did a good job, well deserved.
yeah, that's neat.
Congratulations.
Good.
Thank you.
Courtney.
Good morning, Commissioners.
On
It's
it.
hard to follow royalty, but is this mic on? Or should we? Yeah,
No, it is.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
on.
Testing.
Yeah. Well, good morning. As you all know, I am going to be transitioning out of this Houston County contract, which makes me very sad, but I want to thank you all for the work you've allowed me to do with the EDA, and I'm accepting a position within CETA to do some more leadership kind of things, and so I'll still be around. Like I said, you won't be able to get rid of me as easy as you might think. And I'm still working on a few projects, so I wanted to just give a quick update on those before I hand it over to Bryce to introduce himself. Essentially, the two things I wanted to mention are the Bluff Country Collaborative Project, and this is the school business partnership we've been working on for about a year. Just an update that we have got about 20 host businesses signed up, both here in Houston County and Fillmore County as a partnership. And we've got schools on board. On October 17th, we'll be having a training for educators to learn more about the businesses and kind of different things that are barriers, like transportation, child work laws, those types of things. So our goal in the next couple, probably about a month, is to have a publication that we distribute both to the businesses and the schools to help them make connections with each other, because we realized that was really the missing piece. We are currently applying for a Department of Labor and Industry grant with our partners at Workforce Development. And we're kind of looking at some other funding that might be possible, and maybe even a way to get CETA as more of a formal partner to be able to help with the human capacity of it too. So that's something that I think we're really excited about, and we'll keep you updated on that. And then the only other thing is there's been several businesses who have approached us about financing. We don't have anything really to bring forward yet, but I wanted to let you know there are several things that we've been chatting about. The EDA did review a loan application at our last meeting, and they didn't feel that the business was actually ready for that point yet. There was some things missing from the business plan and things, so we denied that loan, but gave the business owner some instructions on where they can seek some help through Small Business Development Center and things like that. So we'll keep you posted on those too. But so I want to introduce my colleague Bryce. He's been here now for over a month probably at this point. So we've been kind of working together, and I've becoming a little bit less visible, but we're still in contact, so I'll let you introduce yourself.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Bryce Lang. I've met a couple of you already. So I just want to give you an overview of what I've been kind of working on. For Manufacturers Week, which is next week, both the 3rd and 4th, we'll be visiting 3 businesses in the county, Snowpack, Trust Specialties, and Precision Stainless. And then, as Courtney was talking about, we've had a lot of coordination with the Bluff Country Collaborative. And then also our website is online. I think that's HoustonCountyEDA.com, if I'm not mistaken.
HoustonCountyMN.com. Yep, but we worked with Andy to get the link on the Houston County government website for that.
Yep, so it's just getting that formalized, and then we also have a few other things with PDFs and possibly a brochure for business development, just so that businesses know what sort of resources, what the process looks like. That's in the works currently. And then we've also been revising our loan documents, just getting a template set up for businesses. I think in the past we sort of had to go ad lib, so it's just getting that straightened out so that it's just standard for every business.
Yeah, we worked with the county attorney on that, and we're working with the insurance company that oversees the county through Sam's referral. So that's just been kind of tightening up some language and getting outdated things revised. So.
And then finally, we have our flood loans paid off, so that's good news. So I'm just excited to be here, and if you have anything you'd like to put across my desk, I'm happy to look at anything, and I'm just excited to be here. So thank you.
Is the new website underneath the Houston County website listed?
It's linked. Yep.
It's
yep.
linked
So
to-
when you go to the Houston County website, you
Right.
see the Economic Development Authority, and you click on that, and then it brings you to the website.
The EDA
Yep.
website?
Mhm.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay. And Bryce, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
You're on the City Council in Lewiston, is that correct?
Yep, that's correct. Yep.
So you get this side too.
Yeah. Yep. Definitely. Sometimes it's better to be sitting
I
on
was
this
gonna
side
say.
than that side.
Do you have established office hours in this building?
Yep, I'll be here typically Tuesdays and Wednesdays. But if there are appointments that a city
Yeah.
administrator or someone from the chamber wants to meet a different day, I'm able to move things around. So I could meet on Thursday and just shift my schedule a little bit. So I'm,
Yeah.
I'm flexible. Yep,
Yeah,
but
but
just
just-
Tuesdays and Wednesdays typically.
Just wanted to clarify that
Yep.
you're here on Tuesday and Wednesday as Courtney
Yep.
has been. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Penny.
Chair, I just have a couple things I want to hand out to the board.
Thank you.
If that it's your pleasure. It's our annual report for fiscal year 2017.
Thank you.
And our new annual report will be released at our upcoming luncheon on October 11th. Thank you for the opportunity to present. I'll just give you a quick update on the work of the Southern Minnesota Initiative Foundation. I want to start by acknowledging how closely we work with Courtney Berge, and we'll obviously be working with her successor here in the EDA role for your county. And actually at our annual luncheon on October 11th, we always recognize some group or organization within our 20-county region that's been a great partner in recent years. And this year we're going to be recognizing our partnership with CEDA, Comprehensive Employment Development Associates. They've been a great organization to work with, and we, in the communities that they serve, and it's quite a number of communities here in this corner of the state, they've been great partners in all of our areas of work. As you know from my past presentations, our foundation has been around 30 years. We cover 20 counties in south central, southeastern Minnesota. Everything as far west as Fairmont, New Ulm, and of course over here to the river, and basically everything south of the metro area to the Iowa border. We do three things because we have a budget of roughly $5 million worth of resources that we can expend across this 20-county region. So we try to concentrate our work in three key areas. I learned in my days in politics, if you try to spread too few dollars over too many programs, you're not going to move the needle. And so we concentrate on three areas of work. One is community work, where primarily we're helping smaller towns create community funds. And we have 27, now 28. We just added one last week to our community fund family. We help them with some startup dollars. We provide all the administrative support at no cost to them. We help them build endowment funds, and then they can invest in their own future. Related to that, we are offering now a farmland retention program where if near one of these towns a farm family wanted to donate part or all of their farmland, we would make sure that that land stayed rented and stayed in production, and after taxes and expenses, those proceeds could go into that community fund budget one way or another. And we're talking currently with Spring Grove and Caledonia about possibility moving in the direction of community funds. We do have, as I said, 28 community funds currently under our umbrella. We also do some small town grants, and we also do a paint program that is available to smaller towns in our region. The Welcome mural on Main Street here and the mural out at the high school were both beneficiaries of that paint program. The second area of our work is early childhood. We invest in that quite heavily, about $1.5 million of resources every year. The needs there are great, and across southern Minnesota we have a shortage of child care slots, so we want to help address the need, but also the quality of the child care that's being secured, because if these kids don't enter kindergarten ready to learn, they often don't catch up. So we do this as a long-term bet on a quality workforce. Among the things that we invest in at Ridgeway, we do have an AmeriCorps person that works as a teacher aide. We have given over the last year and a half, $16,000 worth of early learner reading books to the La Crescent Public Library and to Houston County Public Health. And those are used for reading and mentoring programs. And we've also done quality child care training programs for early childhood providers here in your county. The vast majority of providers of early childhood education in southern Minnesota are in-home providers, so this training program is targeted to them, and we had 34 participants in that training program. In addition, we provided Houston County Public Health with a grant so that they could work with low-income families around literacy and other social emotional challenges that they might face in raising their children. And we provided the Caledonia Public Schools with a kindergarten pre-K alignment grant for them to work with early childhood providers in the school district. Last but not least, and this is partly on the lending side of our work, which is the next category of our work, but it's also tied to early childhood, we gave a business loan to the daycare in Hoka, Amanda's Daycare, to help them with sprucing up their facility and making sure that they were compliant with the expectations of the Department of Health and other agencies that govern child care settings. We've also given a grant to CETA for work in Spring Grove on their past, present, and future initiatives. That was a $15,000 grant. We also selected Spring Grove as one of our rural entrepreneur venture communities, where we will provide facilitation and some grant support over a 3-year period to help them address issues that will make them a more entrepreneurial community, to sprout and grow new business ideas in tourism. And we included Carlson Roasting out of Houston in our Smart Start local foods business training program, and that Mr. Carlson has been a very active participant in that training. Last but not least, we invest in business lending across the region, and as I said, the loan to the Hoka Child Care Center was just one example of that. But I always remind you when I come to visit with you each year that we do have some lending resources, and very often we identify these lending needs in partnership with CETA or with a local bank. So please keep us in mind if there are businesses down here that could use a lending partner, because any loans that we issue, we can also offer at no cost technical assistance for those loan clients to help them succeed. And because of that, we have a pretty successful rate of pretty successful experience with our loan clients, a very low default rate. So that's our story, that's what we do, and we do bring about $12 into Houston County annually for every dollar we raise locally from corporations, banks, individuals, and of course the county. So I hope you view that as a good return on your economic development investment in us, and just know that all of the work we do, we, as best we can, try to do it in partnership and collaboration with others that are working on the 3 categories of work that we invest in.
And we do really appreciate what your organization brings to the table for us, as well as, obviously other counties. It's very
Thank
helpful.
you. We try to be, we view our role as being a supplement and a complement to what others are doing, and to layer our resources in to kind of make things happen. And as we will say at our annual luncheon this year, our theme is Move the Needle, to help move the needle on these areas of work.
I particularly noticed your emphasis on early childhood and childhood development and so forth. I was recently at an AMC Human Services meeting, and a lot of emphasis on reaching these kids at an age where they can still have normal development and not fall behind and play catch up forever. So
that's why the
appreciate that.
investments at that age level are so important,
Yeah.
and we're going to continue to provide a share of our resources, at least a third of our resources every year, to early childhood activity. And actually at our annual luncheon, we're going to announce that we're going to pick as many as 5 communities to go in and work intensively to help them address the child care shortage in their community and help them explore solutions, because different solutions work for different towns. And so we want to model some solutions in 4 or 5 towns, and then hopefully we can share those solutions with other similar towns across the region.
Good. I think you do a very good job with what you do, and working together with CETA is very important too. They're
Yeah, thank you.
instrumental.
They're a great partner.
Yes.
So unless you have other questions, I appreciate your time and appreciate the support that the county has provided us through the years.
You don't have any plans of getting back into politics
Been there, done that.
in today's environment?
Actually, if I could add an editorial comment, wouldn't want to do it today.
Yeah.
Much happier time when
That was
I
my
was there
point.
years ago.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now, where did that go? Okay, there we are. Ah, Aaron, there you are.
Morning.
Good morning.
Two items for you today. The first is a recommendation from the Planning Commission for a conditional use permit, and the second is just a review of the building permits or the zoning permits that have been issued. Information regarding the conditional use permit was contained in your packets. This is a replacement of a 7-year-old approximately bridge with a modern culvert. The applicant worked with the DNR and the county in its administration of the wetland rules to secure public waters permits and procure some wetland credits, because there is an unavoidable disturbance of wetlands with this project. That all predated the application to the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission's main role in this is to look at the impacts on the floodplain, and that those rules aren't codified in the DNR or the wetland process. In this case, this proposal reduces the surface elevation of the 100-year flood event, and therefore it's in compliance with the floodplain rules. There are other findings too, that it doesn't create a obstruction, and it doesn't adversely affect permitted uses on adjoining properties. The Planning Commission found all those things to be true and is recommending the granting of this conditional use permit with 3 conditions. I'd welcome any questions you might have.
You know, it was very thorough, and Fred probably can speak well on it, because I noticed you were on every vote.
The only comment I would have on that is that the sample size is small. I haven't been involved in the Planning Commission that much, but this particular application had its ducks lined up better than anything I've seen up to this point. I mean, it was very well done, and there were a very minimal amount of questions after the Planning Commission. You know, everybody had looked at things, and there were very minimal questions, and there was no objection raised to any of it. It was an extremely well done application.
And I liked the way it was in the packet. It was very detailed. That was good to read through.
Yeah.
Right, Jack? So you're looking for a motion to
we do
approve
need
the
a
conditional
motion, yeah.
use permit?
And to adopt the findings
And to adopt the
prepared by
findings.
the Planning Commission, and to include the conditions recommended by the Planning Commission, if that's what you're intending to do. Conditions are as follows. The permittee shall comply with all federal, state, and local laws and regulations.
Yeah.
The county may enter onto the premises at reasonable times and in a reasonable manner to ensure the permit holder is in compliance with the conditions and all other applicable statutes, rules, and ordinances. And then lastly, the project must be commenced no later than 12 months after the approval date of the county board.
And why was that condition added?
Without that condition, the time period is 9 months, and that was added just to prevent some unexpected delay from requiring the applicant to return to the Planning Commission.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve the conditional use permit with those stated findings of fact and conditions.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carried.
And then secondly, this morning, I'm just presenting as a matter of information zoning permits that have been issued since my last update to the board. If there's any questions on those, be happy to address them. If not, thank you for your time.
Your software seems to be working good. Your permitting
Yeah,
software.
I took the liberty of sending information out to the county board, and the planning commission also receives those. If they become something you wish not to receive, let me know and I can stop that. But I think that it's a good way to keep the public officials
Yeah.
abreast.
Oh yeah,
of
Yeah.
what's
absolutely.
Yeah.
happening.
It's kind of fun. You see it come through, and you're like, oh, okay. I mean, it seems the automated portion of it seems to be working well. you know?
Yeah, so far so good. We're still ironing out some rougher spots and some other permits that are nearing the going live stage. But the zoning permit, the first one we worked on, I'm satisfied with it so far. Additionally, when you get those emails, if you wish to click on the view application and get the additional information that's provided there, talk to me and I can explain to you how to do that. It's very simple.
Sure.
You need to do one more step.
Cool. Thank you, Aaron.
Okay. Aaron, is Amelia around?
She is, yeah.
Well, of course, it isn't. It isn't quite time.
She's probably in the office. I'll run and see if I can present her.
Yeah, I don't know how long John is going to take. You have any feel for it, John? We could put you ahead.
I think it's pretty short, but I was waiting for Mary.
Let me.
Yeah, okay.
I can text Mary.
You want to just try and do all the other stuff maybe before everybody gets
Yeah,
here?
well, Mary isn't here, so, yeah, we can start with action items. Claims, human service, and license center disbursements.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carried. Grant and aid contracts for the 4 area snowmobile clubs. I don't think we need to do that on individual clubs. We can just do
No.
that as it is here.
Right, they
It's
used
an
to come
automatic thing.
individually. This was
Yeah.
kind of nice to see all 4 applications.
Yeah.
at
And
once.
it's a
I'll make a
every year
motion
thing,
to
so.
approve the contracts for the snowmobile clubs.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carried. Establish date and time for Truth and Taxation meeting.
The recommendation is to hold that meeting on the 26th of November at 6 p.m. to meet the statutory requirements of that meeting.
Say that again, the 26th.
26th November, a Monday night at 6 p.m.
And we need a motion to that effect. Or a motion to approve, whatever.
I would move to establish that time and date for the TNT meeting.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded for a Truth and Taxation meeting on November 26th at 6 p.m. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. I almost forgot. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carried. I think we better go on. I think we better not start the budget thing now. I think we better go on to the consent agenda. The correspondence from the DNR regarding the acquisition of property.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor, aye.
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 Okay. Motion carried. Now, we go back up to the 10 o'clock appointment at 9:30. Okay, Amelia.
apologize for not being here.
Well, we're just ahead of schedule. It's not your fault.
Hey, miracles do happen.
Well, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
So I'm just here to get approval to apply for a Minnesota Department of Ag grant. The Department of Ag actually approached me. They're looking to do some work on eradicating Japanese hops along the Root River. Last year, Fillmore Soil and Water kind of took the initiative and did some work up on the upstream portion. They found where it started within Fillmore County, and so now that they've kind of completed their work or gotten a good portion of it done, we'd like to work on it on the downstream portion. I guess as far as the grant is for $20,000, and we just ask for the max. We're hoping that it pretty much covers the full extent of the Root River, but we don't really know, I guess, until they get out there. And then if we do get through it quick, we do have a couple other weeds that we named that we would kind of target within the county. But otherwise, as far as county match, the only thing that we would match with is my time administratively. All the work would actually be hired out through, we'll take bids and stuff when the time comes. I guess I'm also looking, if you guys have any questions, there is a period for which I think it's up to October 1st, which I can submit questions if it's anything I can't answer for you guys. So is there any concerns?
Oh, it was very interesting, and I liked the pictures that came along with it, too.
So just out of curiosity, so this is they're mainly along the riverbanks?
Yeah, I guess I didn't give you any background, but they like the sunlight area and they like that moist soil, and so I think the only spot in the state that they found it is actually along the Root River corridor in this one little section, and they grow prolifically, and that they actually do end up choking out some of the riparian vegetation and just creating a very dense and thick monoculture so that nothing native can grow, and kind of creates an unstable environment there. And with the flooding and issues that we've had, we'd like to kind of get rid of that so we can really promote a lot of our native vegetation.
So then are they planning on just taking a boat basically up the root and then just spraying for it? Or?
Yeah, and that's what this grant is for. There's a possibility that we could go through Conservation Corps Minnesota and do some terrestrial application, but which we could probably do if there's money left over in this particular one as well. It's just kind of expensive when it comes to aquatic application. They did have some difficulties up in Fillmore County just because it's a lot smaller with a lot of the rapids and everything, but I'm hoping that down in this part of the Root River that it'd be a little bit easier, so we might get a little bit more done.
Okay, we did have a inquiry from the public in terms of what's used to eradicate it. That there's maybe some detrimental effects of that particular herbicide. Do you have any thoughts on that?
The chemical that's being used there doesn't have a particularly good reputation, and it did not, this particular thing has not come up in the water board meeting on the first Wednesday of the month. And I looked at it, I thought, well, maybe the DNR knows more than I do, zip it, but the more I think about it, I'm really questioning that particular chemical right there at the river, in the river, I mean, this gives me a problem.
Yep, and I see in that informational page I did send you guys, it does say that they recommend glyphosate. Last year, the chemical that they used, Stantec was the company that did the job in Fillmore County, and they used triclopyr. It's more selective to broadleaf plants. It doesn't, I guess, have quite the background like glyphosate does. Ultimately, I would think this is something that we could discuss with. I can ask, but it'd be something we maybe would have some say in when it does come down to application, and we probably just would submit it with in our bids or request for bids. that
That's-
we require us.
Yeah,
There
that's
is
what I
a
thought.
comment period, there is a comment period, and this is obviously something that's not going to take place. The actual physical work isn't going to take place until next spring.
Right.
So there is some time for this to be really looked at.
Out of
Yeah.
curiosity, are they just going through and finding the plant and then targeting that plant, or is this a broad spray? Do you know?
Yeah, it sounds like, I think I sent you guys the maps where it kind of showed
Yeah.
the density of infestations. And so that's what they'd go through, is go down the line and spray. But since it is so thick, they wait like a period of 2 weeks, and then they'd go back and they'd spray again. So they are just, actually, as far as I know, they're just spot spraying the hops itself, and then obviously whatever is kind of taken over would get hit too. But the triclopyr is a selective chemical.
In the
versus
triclopyr
glyphosate.
is the one that's the controversial one more?
Glyphosate is a controversial chemical.
Well, I will say that this is a conundrum, because you have to figure out what the the pros and cons and what's going to outweigh it. Is it, glyphosate obviously has been in the news recently as potential carcinogenic deal. However, every single farmer in this entire planet uses glyphosate.
Yeah.
So one would ask, how much are you using, and how is that, is it better to get rid of this plant and shoot it one time, or let it overrun? That's going to be the question.
Yeah, sure.
Is it worth the chemical to eradicate it, or let it take over, and how much is going to be used? Because we live right along the Root River, and we spray our fields with glyphosate. So I gotta say, okay.
Yeah,
and I
understand.
wish farming wasn't that way. I wish we didn't use chemicals in farming, but I'd be curious as to how much is going to be used to do this if you're going to be directly on the river, where like fields are not on the river.
Well, my question would be, did you say that Fillmore used something else?
That's what Fillmore used, was the triclopyr.
And it worked?
Yeah, I think they've had success with it. It sounds like they're going to be trying again this year, just to go back and check to see if there's anything that they missed. But for the most part, it sounded like they were successful over there.
Okay, and you alluded to this, but if we were to decide that we'd rather use what they used, would that potentially lessen our chances of getting the grant, or is the grant pretty sure thing regardless?
I don't know that they would penalize you for requesting specific chemicals like that. I can ask, or I will ask, and
Okay.
let you guys know. But this is kind of a high priority thing for Department of Ag, it sounded like. So,
Okay.
Would it make a difference in the grant application if we just let you do a little bit more research on it and come back to us in a week?
yeah, as far as you're just concerned about the chemical
Yeah,
primarily? Okay.
yeah, just
What did you say the due date is?
what other chemicals might be available, the potential for spraying directly in the water, what kind of damage would that potentially do, etc. All that kind of good stuff, just to look at. Maybe that work has probably already been done by somebody else, and we just aren't aware of it.
Yeah.
So we'd like to know what it is, and at least that's what I'm sensing.
I can do that. And to answer your question, Jake, there's a question period through October 1st, and then the grant itself is not actually due till the 15th. So it would work to come back.
Because I'd like to know if there's a little bit not as harsh chemical that does the job.
Yeah.
Great, then go that route.
Right.
Yep.
All right. Well, I will see if I can find answers to your questions then.
Thanks.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Mary and John. For one of the few times since Mary has been here and been on the agenda, we are actually ahead of time.
Yes, I was summoned via text message.
We figure for one of your last meetings, we might as well
Be on time.
be on time or ahead.
Well, I almost wasn't on time.
I'd like a little break between the big party, so.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Well, today we're here to have the board consider a formal resolution with regard to action you took a couple weeks ago, directing us to move forward with implementing a public health and human services department combined. We, at that time, wanted to do a little more research and make sure that we had the legalities and things necessary in a resolution for you, and so I think that's in your packet.
It is.
And if you prefer, we can read it into the record so that you hear that. Does that sound good? No.
Don't
Okay.
need to.
Don't need to?
It's in the packet, so
It's
we've
there.
got it.
All right.
Okay.
We did read through it,
Okay.
so.
We did run it by Sam as well as our county administrator, and so.
Passed both of them, huh?
It's passed
Yes.
both of them.
Yes, sounded
It's a-
good. It was very detailed.
It's a version of one of the counties that we visited. Both of the counties we visited, again, Mauer County and Goodhue, have been very helpful for us in this process, and being able to learn from some of the approaches they took to integrating these two departments has been real helpful, and it'll continue to be helpful as both myself and other staff in public health and human services will be able to reach out to those counties in particular as we move forward.
I had the opportunity to visit with the Goodhue lady at the AMC meeting in Alexandria, and she was very supportive and very willing to assist in any
She was great.
manner that she could, so that was nice to hear.
Yeah, Nina is a real outstanding public health and human services leader. We're fortunate to have her in our region, and I really am impressed with Region 10's leadership. We meet on a regular basis, and that's a real support for each other in similar counties.
So at this time, you're looking for a motion to accept resolution number 18
Correct.
for the integration of public health and human services. I'll make a motion to that effect.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
I think it's been very helpful with the way you've kept us informed of how this is going to come about, and it really helps make decisions.
Great. It's a big decision.
All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carried.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
One other quick thing, I just thought I'd mention a few of the implementation things that we have begun already. You'll see in your 2019 budget, we've worked to integrate the two budgets. That won't be an operational public health and human services budget until the 1st of January, and that'll assist with audit purposes and stuff, kind of keeping those two separate, 2018 through 2000, or then to 2019. We are going to learn some things with an integrated budget through 2019, so stay tuned. We're also in the process of selecting a public health supervisor. That position posting closes this week, and we hope to begin interview process for that as soon as possible. There'll also be some real training and onboarding for that person that we'll be putting in place in the coming weeks. We're needing to reclassify a few of our employees based on different job duties, in most cases additional duties. We are also looking at some of the supervisory relationships, and we're going to be moving some of our waiver social workers probably in the next week or so to integrate with public health nurses in a combined home and community-based services unit that'll be over at Public Health. This afternoon, we're going to be meeting with our Public Health Advisory Board and begin a discussion about expanding that to a Public Health and Human Services Advisory Board, and which voices, which people we need to see represented there. And then there's going to be a fair amount of training and things that'll be needed for our staff. So we'll be coming before you with some of those things in the coming weeks and months as well.
John, who do you plan to have interview the public health position?
It's going to be myself. Tess will be involved, and then we have a couple other folks. Our public health regional
District consultant.
District
Minnesota Department of Health,
consultant
District
from
Mary Orban,
Yeah.
possibly.
She has made herself available to participate in that process, and we also have a few people in mind in our public health advisory board. So we'd like to have at least 3 people, and for me particularly, I'd like to have somebody that has a real public health perspective to help us evaluate that that selection.
Okay.
Any other questions?
No.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Take a deep breath. We're going into starting to talk about the preliminary budget at this point. Jeff? Carol?
I'll start, but you may have some questions for Carol as well. So you have each been presented with the budget levy projections for 2019, and this is based off of the preliminary budget submissions from all the departments, and of course the big driver in some of the number increases that you're seeing has been our estimates of salary and the health benefits, which has had a big increase this year with the premium. So that's been one of the primary drivers. So right now, what we're looking at is a total percent of 6.94% on the levy, which is high. We've been through some of the budget stuff, and there is some areas for some improvements, and I've shown you some of those options as we go forward. But however, we're also at a point where we have some very big unknowns still in what's going to happen with the 2018 and 2019 budget with respect to the salaries and benefits, pending the results of the arbitrations that we're in, and then the other follow-on labor agreements that are still pending decision and waiting in the wings behind those arbitrations.
In your opinion, in accordance with what Carol's is, the 6.94, is that worst case scenario, or are you hedging a little on?
It really wouldn't be yet. This doesn't take into consideration the settlements for the 2018 wages that may possibly happen, which would actually increase the 2019 projections of salary. So this isn't the worst case scenario unless some other things were identified that could be capital projects.
The salary increases for 2019 it incorporates as a 2% across the board, which if arbitrations and stuff go well for the county, that's about where we'd be at or below. But in a worst case scenario, as far as arbitration results go back, that wouldn't cover everything. So we'd have to make other adjustments.
But when we set the preliminary, we can't raise it. I mean, we can only go down.
Right. Only decrease.
So it was very helpful. I did meet with our administrator to go line by line on each of the budgets. It was very, very informative. I appreciate that.
I believe Human Services in in the information that they had sent out, actually talked about using levy, a combination of levy and fund balance for theirs.
Mhm.
There are,
Still wouldn't make that much difference looking at the other aspects.
there's an unusual number of imponderables in this situation because we have the Health and Human Services Department doing some transitioning which may or may not affect the bottom line on salaries. John just talked about some changes in job descriptions and whatnot, and we've got a set of contracts that is not settled yet. We're in arbitration on 2 of them, and obviously the others are simply waiting for the arbitration thing to play out before they decide whether they want to do arbitration or negotiation. As one of our boards said the other day, there's been some things that I've seen in arbitration where I thought, you've got to be kidding me. It's sort of like going to court over something, which, arbitration is basically a court thing. You really don't know what's going to happen. You really don't have a feel for it at all. So that's kind of imponderable. And each percentage that we go up on salaries costs the county approximately, round numbers, Carol, check me on this, about $100,000. And we...
I guess the plus is that we had the big insurance increase, but that has been included in here, so we don't have that variable.
And my understanding is that when all of this kind of settles down a bit, why Human Resources and the union people will do as they've done in the past, get together and try to negotiate this situation and work it out. There might be a little bit brighter light at the end of the tunnel on that particular thing. Then there might not, too. It might be, hey, this is the best we can do. Please remember that over the last several years, we have had very minimal to no raises at all in that health insurance area. Is this the point where we're going to have to bite the bullet and pay for it? We don't know that yet. So, yeah, there's a lot of stuff, a lot of big balancing act at this point.
In here included, I understand, we're in negotiations still with the unions. But does this number account for any cost of living adjustment for non-union or anything?
No.
Okay.
The 2% in 2019 does. That's a 2% across the board for all employees.
Union or non-union.
Union or non-union, right. But
Was that-
2018 does not include any.
Okay, so now I'm going to ask this question because I don't recall voting on if we were going to give out 2% or not yet, or is that
Well,
that's just
no.
included in case we did?
It's just we had
Okay.
to budget. We had to budget something.
Gotcha,
Rather than
gotcha.
going with the no budgeting
Yep.
salary increases again, which is
Right.
Yep.
At this point, I
And if
guess
that's
I
in
would
the
I would ask the personnel committee if they think that's actually realistic, or if we're gonna wind up, okay, it's yours, the floor's yours.
Well, I think and we probably should have some of this discussion if we're talking about the levy, but when we're in negotiations, that kind of does I think play out a little bit as far as if the unions are asking for a certain percentage increase, and then on top of that a cost of living increase, that does play a factor into our budgeting if that's being planned or not, so.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll, Jack.
Well, I'm just, when were we informed about the insurance?
About a month ago.
Right
I
as
think.
we were
Yeah.
putting budgets together, yeah.
Yeah.
We usually get at the end of August.
August, yeah. That's when Tess sent that first email.
Yeah.
Right.
Because moving forward, that definitely has to be addressed. We have very, what's the word? Very good insurance offering at this point, and it's got to be factored as a benefit, just as if it was a wage, in my estimation. So I just want to emphasize going forward that it's got to be
Right.
strongly factored in.
It is a negotiated item with all of the unions, and non-union people are given that typically the same that
As-
the unions have.
right.
So it's another item that's going to have to be negotiated that way.
So is that part of the negotiations that the Personnel Committee's working with?
Well, yes and no. I mean, it's been made aware. I think it's been just assumed that, oh yeah, we're going to get that, and and I don't know if I guess the board should be aware since we have personnel committee and it's open meeting. I have not seen, and Jack, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but there hasn't been a lot of consideration for that being a factor. It kind of seems like it's, from the union side, it seems like they've just been saying, well, that's just a given, we're going to get that.
It's in its-
Plus, we want more money, not, oh, well, that's going to play a factor in what we're going to get. I think I haven't seen a lot of,
I'd agree.
I think the point here is that Jeff's recommendation, I believe, was that we, or maybe it wasn't a formal recommendation, I better back up on that, but it seems like it would be that I've got 6.74 here, and by doing that, we tend to cover our backsides a little bit, because that 2% is there, and how that comes out, we don't know. But if we go cutting that amount now, if we trim it back now to like 5 or 4 or whatever, we really could potentially be in a great deal of trouble because we can't raise. We can, if the arbitration comes back more favorably than the union anticipates it'll come back, and if we can work out something more favorable in health insurance in December, we could potentially lower that. And we'd like to. We don't know yet, but we're really possibly creating a problem for ourselves if we start doing that now. That's my feeling.
what is, Jeff, you had, in an email, you said something about you had certain things taken out, I think it was salaries, wages, and healthcare or something taken out.
Right, on the one spreadsheet that we sent out, kind of the rainbow looking one there, we broke out the cost of the salary and benefits away from the operating costs so that we could better look at what operating budget changes that were made, and so I could address the specific increases in those areas or decreases in those areas and what's driving the change there separate from the salary.
So what is our, do we have anything that shows what our operating budget and solely operating budget went up by?
You have to be a little bit
Right.
careful when you look at that, because the operating budget shows a approximately $4 million increase, but if you look at the highway department, the income there is also up about $4 million, because there are a sizable number of projects additional to what there have been, and the state reimburses on that. So
Yes,
be a
I-
little careful when you're looking at
I
that.
turn your attention to the bottom of page 3. The first 3 pages address the county revenue fund, separate from the highway funds. And the last column on the bottom of page 3 is in all departments. And so the second to last column there is the change amount. And so our change in budget from 2018 to 2019 for salary and benefits is a little over $540,000.
I see, okay.
And then our change in our operating budget is $288,000.
Okay, so you'd be accurate in saying that the operating costs for next year would go up 288,000, and the health and benefit costs go up 540,000.
Yep.
Cool.
Yep.
I like that. Okay, that explains a lot.
And I also sent a document to all of you that explains what some of those drivers are and the increases in the operating cost.
Right.
Some of that is budgeted replacement of vehicles and equipment and things that are earmarked specifically for the year. Some of that is the cost of goods and services going up. Changes in cost of fuel, changes in salt prices have gone up about 15%. So across the board, those are all the different variables that have addressed that change. What I haven't had a chance to get into yet is truly line-by-line budgeting and where we can go, and that's what we'll work on between now and December when we get to approach a final number, is where we can truly look at trimming and adjusting.
Well, I guess over the years, the actual operating budget, at least on my end, says a lot. Because we know wages and salaries will go up with cost of living and union negotiations. So taking that out of it to see the operating costs, how much is it costing this county to operate, says a lot. And how much that's fluctuating. So it's nice to see that, just the operating portion of it.
Carol, there's a recommendation of what we should have in reserves, that what the auditor recommends.
Mhm.
Remember what that number is? I'm sorry, I didn't put you.
We have, our policy states that we will maintain 45 to 60% of our current year tax levy.
Right.
We have historically maintained 50%. The sheet that you received last week showed the fund balance.
Right.
And that we were within that. And did I send that out, or did I just make a copy?
You did send out 50% of the levy would have been,
There, okay, you have it on there.
yeah, the one you gave us last week
Right.
was 3,886,859.
For the general fund.
For the general, yes, for the general.
And then highway department has
I guess where
theirs
I'm
and-
trying to get here is if we don't want to levy again what I'd consider not excessive necessarily, but a higher amount, do we have enough fund balance to, again,
Make up the difference.
make up some difference?
The difference between, to make up some of the difference, yes, there would be.
Okay.
Okay, without stretching it too much.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still in favor of budgeting where we feel comfortable without doing that, but then setting our sights on getting it lower by December.
Now, another question is, when looking at this, because the negotiation side of things isn't settled, would we have, and I know that's kind of an unknown, but have enough in fund balance if we said, let's not take that into consideration right now, focus on the knowns and levy the knowns, and if the negotiation comes up, we'll use that out of fund balance, right?
That would be a way to look at it, yes. And there would be a sufficient amount to cover that.
Because like coming in December, and I would hope we're done with negotiations by December. But let's say that it's not, for instance. You know, I would hate to set a levy high. All of a sudden negotiations come in lower than what we anticipated, and now you got all this excess that we levied. You know what I mean? As far as just levy the known factors right now, you know, and then we'll work on that. And then when negotiations come in, we can look at how much
can
fund
lower.
balance if we needed to. You know.
Theoretically, then, you know, what I think you're saying, Justin, to translate it into something that I can understand, is what I think you're saying is to eliminate that 2% for 2019. Is that where you're at?
Well, yes and no.
Maybe that's why I wasn't clear.
Yeah, I guess so, because you know I'm just looking at you know if the unions are getting an increase in the non-unions, then I would think would expect you know at least a cost of living adjustment of some sort. Yeah, I guess maybe that's a simpler dry cut way of looking at it. I was just thinking, you know, do you set a you know. Yeah, I guess so. That's probably the easiest way to look at it, is take the salary increase portion out, you know, because that's going to be kind of determined by the negotiations. You know, just deal with the known salaries going forward.
We almost have to budget for something, don't we?
Well, that's what I was asking Carol is do we? You know, we know what the salaries are going to be, the base salaries. We know what the health insurance costs will be. We know those.
Mm-hmm.
The unknown is the increase that's being negotiated, okay? So we don't know what that factor is going to be. So until that time comes, do we just focus on the numbers that we do know?
Is that
Well-
when we do the final in December? That's
Yeah.
when we can take it out?
But
Right, and I'm just
okay,
saying.
but I'm thinking we should include our side of the arbitration offer, because if we win, that's what it's going to be.
Right, and that's that would be the lowest that it would be. You know what I mean? So go from that point forward. That's what we know.
Right.
You know, because there could be a slight
okay.
increase depending which way
So I
this thing
didn't know
goes.
if you
But
were including that portion, but yeah.
yeah, just
Right.
just the known numbers.
So
you know what
your
I mean?
offer is actually 2% for
Right.
2019. So
Yeah.
you are saying to
So
leave that
that's-
amount in, because
Yes.
that's what you
That's
have
what-
Right,
offered.
and anything on top of that, we could take out of fund balance if we had to, you know, down the road. You know what I mean? Does that
Oh,
make
now
sense?
I do.
Because those numbers we know. We know that these are the numbers. It's don't worry about the unknowns and don't plan for, well, what
Yeah.
if it goes to this? Don't
Yeah.
worry about it. You know.
So you're saying
Well,
that
then
we
that-
we should do our preliminary, keeping the 2% in,
Yeah.
and that would be the 6.944.
Right.
Now,
Yeah.
I need some clarification, because the sheet I
So-
have here that I think I got from Carol this morning is 6.74.
So
That
on-
was-
it's a
The-
Or
three-column.
did
We
I
have to
look
go
at
by
the
the
wrong
center.
column?
Right.
It's a three-column form. On the left side is the number you referenced,
Right.
and then
Okay.
the middle column.
Okay, I'm sorry.
The middle column
Yep.
adds the adjustment of a potential employee,
I looked at the wrong
part-time
column.
employee that
Thank
we
you.
will be proposed to.
Well, the
To do the
the
middle.
board would be deciding if they went with the 6.944 to authorize Sam to hire a half-time clerical person. If they weren't going to do that, then you would adopt the 6.747.
We can address that in a separate
Well,
motion,
yeah.
but this would allow it would put you in place with the budget to make that decision
Right.
separately.
And then this is still a preliminary budget that could be addressed between now and December, and probably will be anyway,
Right.
because he
Oh, it
hasn't
will
come,
be.
he hasn't come to us with any formal request.
This-
So,
Well, during the budget process, this is his formal request. When he adds it to his budget, well, he doesn't add it to his budget. He made a note that goes to Tess and to me, and then we forward that to the personnel committee, who I don't address that.
Well, yeah, you got till December to make that final decision whether he can add somebody or not. He's just putting it in his budget like each department does. They put in what they're,
No.
Yeah.
Oh, this is an addition?
Right.
Okay.
No staff can be added without it coming to the board
Board.
through a separate note,
Okay,
separate request.
okay,
It's not included in their line item budget.
okay, that makes sense. People could be adding staff all the time then, otherwise.
Well, right, that's why you
Yes,
made the
that's
decision.
why it has to come before.
Nothing gets added unless it's noted
Right,
here.
okay.
Okay. So that, I think that what's left is for somebody to make a motion. I think I hear a fairly solid consensus here.
That works. Okay.
Okay, I would make a motion to approve the preliminary at 6.94%.
We need a second.
I'll second it.
Okay.
Can't move forward without a second.
And is there any further discussion? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed?
Aye.
Okay. Motion carried. And now I gotta flip this page. Whoops. Wrong piece of paper. Here we go. We are to the discussion items section of the agenda, I think.
You'll also want to adopt the preliminary budget as presented.
Oh, yeah.
Then you're adopting this.
Oh.
Thank you.
I would move to accept the preliminary budget.
I'll second it.
Okay. Discussion? And we'll move to the vote then. And all those in favor of the preliminary budget as presented, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed?
Aye.
Okay. Motion carried. Now, I think we can go to discussion items.
Do you want to do consent?
We did.
Did we do that already?
Yeah,
Jeez, I'm daydreaming
Yeah.
up here. Okay.
we moved on. Teresa,
I did have the CJCC meeting that I took over from Scott. Actually, it was very interesting. We had a presentation by Workforce Development there. They have a grant, it's actually a state grant, for $350,000 for working with the people on probation or in jail to help them find jobs, because there's such a job shortage, by giving them education or apprenticeships or whatever would work. So it seemed like everybody was very enthused about this new program and the funding for it. They would have to take 4 weeks of classes in manufacturing or construction or something where jobs are needed, so. Then also,
Teresa?
Yes.
Just, you said because there's a job shortage, there's actually an employee shortage.
employer,
Yeah, yeah.
that's what I meant.
Oh, yeah.
There's
Lot-
plenty of jobs.
A lot
It's
of
the
signs
employees.
out, now hiring, now hiring.
That's exactly right,
Yeah.
so. Yeah, it came out wrong. And they're also working with, this workforce development is working with Hiawatha Valley Adult Ed to help inmates or people on probation again to get their GEDs if they don't have it. So that's another plus of the program. It's all on discussion at this point. Hasn't been awarded yet. It'll probably be 2019. Then they also had a, Mark Schultz brought up that it's been 2 years since we've had the training, CPR training and AED training, and the Caledonia Ambulance Department would be, he's asking them if they would consider giving it again, and because it's so much cheaper than going through hospitals or workforce or anything like that, or EMS, and they would possibly charge the employee, our employees, $30 to take it, and they would pay for that. We would not pay for that, but we would allow them time off to take it during business hours. That's what we did the last time, and he wanted to know if he can pursue that avenue again from the board.
That doesn't need to be a formal motion, does it?
No, I think he's consensus whether he should pursue looking this up, if they'll do it again.
Yeah.
It's a good idea. There's all these AED devices hanging around that people don't even know how to use if they had to. You know, really, it's a safety issue.
Yeah.
So, same with CPR. So I can let him know that, the consensus of the board.
Yeah, if you would
check it
recommend
out.
that he talk to Tess. We are discussing some training opportunities as well. She has a very small training budget that we're looking at doing some stuff towards the end of the year with, specifically around safety. That might be something we can loop together.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
All right, that was my main things that, oh, I did hear that our county had about 800,000 that we submitted to the state for Homeland Security to get the 75% reimbursement. So you can turn in the bills after you've done 100% completion of the job. So, and that's 12 townships, the cities, and our county, the county itself. So that's mainly.
Hey Fred, you know we're ahead of schedule, and we're gonna be more ahead of schedule because I got nothing.
You're helping us.
I'm helping.
Hey, you're good.
The only meeting I had was with Fred and Jeff discussing a couple of the budget issues that seemed caught our attention. And then I had my time with Jeff getting better acquainted and him understanding where I'm coming from, and so that was a good meeting.
I think all of us have met with our new administrator, and it's a good relationship. We appreciate it. The only thing that I have is a meeting that I would like to make sure that everybody knows about, and that's the township officers meeting this evening at, what's the name of that?
Four Seasons.
Four Seasons. There we go. Thank you.
So that begins at 6?
Well, the initial part's 6, but the dinner is at 7, correct?
Dinner's at 7, yeah. We also have a retirement party this afternoon.
Yeah, 4 to 6, right?
Yeah.
4 to 6, yeah.
Okay.
What time is the retirement?
4 to
2
6.
to 4?
Is it 2 to 4? 2 to 4.
Okay.
I thought it was 4 to 6.
2 to 4.
Oh, okay.
And
That just
where's that
completely screwed up your day. For
Yeah,
all
it did.
I
I was hoping to stay in
At
town.
Public Health, right? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's out there. Okay. Do we have any closing public comment?
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Betsy Reedy from Money Creek. I just wanted to thank you for your expressed concern about the health of the Root River and the kind of mindless pouring of glyphosate into the water. And your recognition when you did that the health of that river is really important to this county. Thank you.
Any other public comment? Thank you, Betsy. In that case, Mr. Zamuski, since we are almost at a world's record of being ahead of time, would you like to make the motion to adjourn?
I'll be honored to make the motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned.